Hello all, happy Monday, and finally we have a video about how you install Business Central 2025 Release Wave 1, aka PC26. Now, there were a lot of requests about it, and I was a little bit surprised that it's been a lot of, you know, approximately 1 or 2 weeks. The cloud version is available, and where is the on-prem version? Because nobody was talking about it. There was no announcement from Microsoft about it. So I had to do a little bit of digging to find out where it is, and we'll talk about this in this video. But before we go there, just a reminder and an announcement. There's a Teams community created, where we are talking about Business Central. Join the community. The link will be in the pinned comment and the description. If you have ever rendered a BC open discussion in the past, that are also happening in this community now. The next one is scheduled for 19th of April. Uh, Due to the limitations, I'll not be able to record those and put them on YouTube, the BC Open discussion. So you'll have to be present there to attend those. It's a pretty growing community right now. We have a tech query support section where people are asking questions, and then people are responding to those questions as they know about it. We have quizzes here for Business Central related stuff, and a lot will happen as we move forward into it. So if you are interested, go to the pinned comment or description, get the link and join it. Just an announcement, this is something that you cannot join with your professional Teams account. You'll have to use a personal Teams account to join this. Okay, so if you're interested, go ahead and join the community. Okay, coming back to the video. So as I was saying, that I started looking for stuff, and then I found out that Microsoft did release Business Central 26, aka 25 Release Wave 1 on the MSG, and there's a link where you can go ahead and download. You don't try to copy this. I'll put the link into the pinned comment also. So you can get the link from there, from where, based on the region and the localization that you want, you can just download the product for your on-premise environment. And then there is a system requirement link, and I'll share both the links in the pinned comment and the description. But on this series around installation, there had been a lot of questions asked in the previous installation video. So just for your benefit and to keep it simple for everybody, I have created a system requirement pre-check on this slide deck. So let's go through that first before we get into installation. Let's do one thing. I'll start the extraction so that in the meantime it can complete. So I've already downloaded the Indian version of version 26. What I'll do is I'll cut it from my download folder, place it in my drive somewhere, keep it as near to the root. Root means near to the disk, and then you extract it. Okay, so let's do an extract all. The default name is good, but it can cause errors in your installation because the files get copied from this folder to your installation root. So I prefer always, and I say this always, try to keep it short so that it's easier for files to be copied when the installation is happening. So I'll keep on extracting while we go back and read about the system requirements. Okay. So if you are into Business Center, you're surely using web client. It's pretty simple. For web client, you only need a browser, which is Edge, Chrome, Firefox, or Safari, based on whatever operating system you're using, or the browser of your preference, right? For the phone and the tablet client, you surely need a browser to access it. For the operating system side on the phone or tablet client, you need to be either on an Android or iOS latest 3 major versions, and then you need to have some size things and other information like screen resolution and other things, which you can set it up on here. Okay, next let's go into the AL development environment, which I hope most of the people who are watching this are looking at this. So for AL development environment, the versions of operating system that's needed is Windows Server 2025, 22 and 2019, and the non-server operating system are Windows 11 and 10, as in they are also server operating system, but just FYI. You will need Visual Studio Code, which everybody knows, and an AL language extension inside your VS Code. If you will be dealing with the reports, which most of us will be, you need to have a report builder for SQL Server 2019. If you already have a 2016 from the prior version, it'll automatically get upgraded to 2019. Or if you are not good with the report builder, which I'm so happy with, you still have option to have Visual Studio 2019 with RDLC report designer for Visual Studio. If you are into world layouts, which have changed drastically in the last 2 releases, including this, you need to use Word 2021 or higher. From a space perspective, the Microsoft document says you need at least 500 MB of space for a development environment, and it's recommended to have at minimum 4-core CPU. Now, based on what you are developing, you need surely the RAM or the memory in your system, which is suggested to be 16 only for development purposes, and same 16 GB for developing a small extension, which typically means less than 1000 objects. The range goes higher if you have a bigger extension, and that's 32 to 64 GB of RAM. Remember, whatever I'm saying here is the minimum requirement. It's not the suggested requirement. As per Microsoft article, this is the minimum requirement of software that you need. Okay, let's head up to another important component, which is server components. For that, you can have Windows 11 Enterprise or Education Edition, which is 64-bit edition with specific versions. Same for Windows 11 Pro, you can use it with a different specific version of 64-bit. Windows 10 Pro Enterprise or Education, not Home Edition, and I have said it in a lot of comments. Only Pro, Enterprise or Education Edition of Windows 10 will be supported, and then Windows Server 2022 or 25 are also supported. You'll need Microsoft .NET Framework 4.8. If you don't have it, I guess the installer installs it on your system, and you will need Report Builder as we discussed in the previous slide. I'm a little bit surprised. Microsoft article as of today says that you need a hard disk space of 100 GB, which doesn't seem real, but that's what is written as of today. I don't think you need that much. From a memory perspective, it's again 16 to 64 GB based on what you are doing. The other important component in the whole installation process will be the web server component, where your Business Center client will be hosted. For that, these are the operating system requirement, which is Windows 11 Pro, Enterprise or Education. Same for Windows 10, and then if you are into Windows Server, then you need 2025 or 22. You will need IIS, which is part of the Windows more or less. If it is not enabled, you'll have to enable it. And then .NET Framework 8.0, which will get installed if needed. From a SQL Server perspective, I'm a little surprised that Microsoft have not listed what version of SQL Server are supported. The only information that is available that your database should have a compatibility level of 160. And then you need, if you don't have a SQL Server on your machine, the installer will install SQL Server 2022 Express Edition, which has a limitation of I guess 10 GB in total, all the database sizes, and then a report builder which we need for development. Now, a very common question that I have seen in the previous video, and that's why I'm adding this, that I'm a developer, or I'm someone who is trying to learn Business Central, or I'm a customer who's trying to explore Business Central. I'm not yet made my mind, and I have a machine. What I need bare minimum to start with. So whatever we have seen in all the slide, it's a crux of that if you want all these components in one machine. Operating system, because a lot of question comes into this. You need minimum of Windows 10 or 11, Pro, Enterprise or Education. No Home Edition. because there are components which will need these versions. So if you have a home edition, you can't use Business Central. Then you will need Visual Studio Code, AL language, IIS 7 or 10, and .NET Framework 4.8. From a reporting perspective, as we talked about, you'll need Report Builder SQL Server 2019. If you don't have it, you don't have to go and find it. The installer comes up with this. But if you are into Word layout, you need to have a Microsoft Word 2021 or later to build Word layouts. From a phone or a tablet client perspective, if you are testing it out, you need OS version 4.0 or later. And then for Android or iOS, it supports latest 3 versions. Web client, we all know you need a browser, and in summary, you need somewhere between 16 to 32 GB of RAM if you want to use Business Central on your machine. Pause the video, take a screenshot if you need it. If you are into community, the screenshot will already be available in the community at this moment. Okay, moving forward, hopefully the download has been extracted and we are good to go. So as I was saying, that there are some component which you don't have it, you don't have to worry about it because they get installed automatically. So what we'll do is, let me zoom this in if I can somehow. Large icon, yeah. So in this, you will always find a prerequisite component folder, which contains all the components that you need, so like .NET Core, .NET Framework, SQL Server, PowerShell. There's a PowerShell requirement now because that has been upgraded, and it also now have Power BI Report Builder. So that means that will also get installed when you install Business Central. So you don't have to worry about the components. Most of them will be available in the product DVD. Okay, let's go ahead. This time we are doing Business Central 26 for India. Okay, now people who have commented about upgrading to India, that's a hint for them that after a very long time, I'll surely try to do some upgrade videos on India localization as we move forward into the journey. So stay tuned for that. Let's come to the installation. So what do? You click on the setup and say run as administrator. This enables your setup to kind of start installing the components for you. You get the welcome screen. You hit the next window, you see the license which you need to accept, and then you have an option to advanced installation option. If you want to try out Business Central on cloud, which will require a work or a school email address, you can go and get a trial for free for I guess 30 days with that email address. But if you want to install on-prem, you'll have to choose advanced installation option. Now again, as you choose that, you get two options: install demo, which installs everything on your box. So if you are someone who is looking to kind of learn things and all, you can just choose install demo and live with it, right? I prefer to choose what I want to install, and this is the scenario where you utilize when you install these multiple components on different servers. So as you can see that there are three major components. One is the client component, one is the server component, and one is the developer component. The client component brings you the connectivity to the web client. It may install the on-prem client or Windows client. There's a Windows client available. So it gives you user access to the environment. If you choose this, what will happen is you will have to provide the details of the server where Business Central service is hosted, and you'll also have to provide what kind of credential it supports. The other option is server. Now the server is the major component because it installs your two components. One is the web server component where your website will be hosted, and your service tier, which handles all the traffic between SQL Server and the web server component. Now you can, if you want, adopt to only have web server component on a different box and the Business Central server on a different box. That's also possible. The SQL Server database component can also be a separate box, and when you choose this, because you are installing server, you will have to provide the SQL database information. Where is that, how you want to use it, how you want to map it, and all here in this section. The last but not least is the developer, which install your AL development environment. The server component is needed, SQL Server database component, and web server component if haven't been installed on other parts. So you need to pick and choose if you are doing on multiple servers. If there is a need about it, let me know. I can mimic it on the same computer by doing different things differently. Okay, now I recently noticed that there's no help server. In the previous versions of Business Central, there was a help server, which I'm surprised, I guess, being replaced with the Copilot as well as with the MSD and help. So you don't have to install a help server, it seems now. Okay, so let's go into developer and let's install everything. So it have AL development environment that I need. It have server, which is the middle tier. It has SQL Server database component, which will give me the demo database, and the web server component, which host the Business Central web client on a server. Let's hit next, and here comes the window to configure your Business Central as per your need. The install location, I don't think most of the people change it, but this is the default location. If for whatever reasons you have to change this, you can define the path where your Business Central get installed. The server computer name points to the server where Business Central service is installed. In this case, I would like to install it locally, and I would like to keep the name as BC260. You can change the name if you need it. Microsoft suggests you BC260, but you're free to say, let's say BC260 IN. This becomes my default service. You need an account to connect the service with the database. Microsoft recommend to use network services. On a production environment, you need to have a service account which have permission to the database on your SQL Server. Prefer to change this if you are doing it on a production environment. Then comes the port. Now each service needs different kind of port. The management service port is the first one in the lot. Now if you have other things, other Business Central versions installed, you should change these. I prefer, because I have a prior version available, I prefer to, let's say, use 8 for this. Let's keep it 7, but let's keep it 9 so that I can see it. 9045. Now the management service port is used to manage all these different services that are available, and then I have also allowed this via firewall. I like to keep it the old way. I don't know why Microsoft started recommending 8.5 for the client port. I don't know the reason, but in the older world of NAV or Business Central, it was always 4.6. I prefer to keep it 4.6, but it's up to you. SOAP, which is needed for your web services, which is going away, just FYI. And then if you want to enable them right now, you can just enable them, or you can do it using PowerShell in later if needed. OData, I love to keep it at 9048, and I'm not enabling it right now. If there is a need, I'll enable it. For developers, this port becomes important, but remember, if you customize it, you will have to make sure that whenever you connect to this in your launch configuration, you will have to define the port number, because the VS Code extension assumes that your developer service port is 7049. So if you change it, like I have done it, when I connect from VS Code, I need to make sure that I have a developer's port number specified as 9049 in this case. I need to make sure that it's enabled. If you want this service not to be used by developer, then you can say it no, and then developers will not be able to connect to the service. Snapshot debugging, it's used for debugging the production environments. In cloud, you cannot debug a production environment. So the snapshot debugging allows you to take a snapshot of things that are happening, which you can replay later. Okay. And I also want to add my client tool to firewall, and I'm not enabling the snapshot debugger right now. If I need it, I'll enable it sometime in future. Now this is where you define how you want your users to be authenticated. The options are Windows, which is the default option. Then you have username, where you have other possibilities. Nav user password, which gives every user a username and a password. And then ACS, which is access control service, which allows you to connect with your Office 365 accounts. At this point, you come here and you specify the SQL Server name. If you have an instance, which some people have, you need to specify the instance name. I don't have an instance, so I'm not specifying anything. But if you have an instance, you'll have to define the instance where this database will be created. So as you can see, I don't have an instance. I will just place that database in here once it's get installed. I would like to keep my database name BCIN so that I know if I have multiple databases. And then this option allows you to override the database if it exists in SQL Server. And then this installs a demo license for your testing and devs, right? If you have public URLs available, you can define them here, but I can define them later also, so I don't mind. Web server component is the IIS piece, as we talked about in the slide. This piece installs a website here for my web client. So I'll see a website for Business Central here later on. And then if there are any prerequisite to this, I would love it to install them. So let's hit apply. Everything configured, everything in place. Now at this point, it is looking for the system requirement that are needed for the system. Now it seems I have an older version of .NET Core installed on my system from the version 25, which I have installed in the past. And it is making sure that those components get upgraded. And how it does that? Because it have them available in the prerequisite folder. So when you look at it, or not the nugget one, sorry, the prerequisite component, you will notice that there is a .NET Core which is getting updated right now on my installation process, right? Now it's changed and now it is installing the IIS prerequisite which are needed for my website to be hosted. So if there are certain components which have changed from prior version, whatever you were using, so it automatically updates or installs those components, so it's kind of ready to deploy your website later on. So these IIS prerequisite will help the system to kind of move forward with it. Okay, so let's wait for it. That's done. Now it's coming to install my development environment, which will install my language packs and all. It moved to install my Cronus sample database, which is the demo database. And as we move forward, we'll start noticing that the demo database will be here. Hopefully it's here now. Let's refresh this. Okay. And started restoring. And if you notice, it gave the name what I suggested. Now I started installing the server component, which is the website, the middle tier, because this takes the information from the SQL Server. The SQL Server name and the database name gets connected to the server, and that's how your server gets connected to the SQL Server. When the server gets connected, the last piece of the equation is the web server component. Now web server component interacts with the SQL database via server component. So that's the reason why it gets installed at the end, because it already needs a server, and server has a prerequisite of SQL Server demo database component. So that's why the order is maintained in this way. Now with this, what will happen is we'll start seeing a website hosted here as this installation kind of completes. So let's refresh this. Not yet. So it's kind of setting up files which are needed, building up the JSON file which connects it to the service tier. As you can notice that the default website is stopped right now. It's came back live. So at any moment now, we should see a Business Central site, and then inside that we should see a subsite for version 26. Now while we are waiting for this, let me share a very crucial information with you if I find that somewhere. There has been an announcement by Microsoft, released on April 8th. I found it later, that there has been some vulnerabilities found with the Business Central versions, and Microsoft highly recommends you to upgrade your Business Central version. So at this point, Microsoft support the 3 version, but they have extended the support for till version 24.12. So if you are on-prem, or if your customers are on-prem, I'll put the link into the description also. Make sure that they are on a version where Microsoft have fixed the vulnerability that they found. This have all the detail, what threat is there and how you kind of tackle this, which is upgrading more or less. But have a look on this in the description. Okay, what happened here? Here the site is published, nice, but I see a problem report. It says computer must be restarted to complete the installation. I'm not going to, but let's see. Okay, so I have a website here, and I have a database here. Let's quickly see the services so that I can see that do I have a Business Central 26 IN service which I published, because without that I'll not be able to use it. So I see the service, but it is not yet started. It says starting, so it may take some time to start because it says it needs a restart. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to restart the server or the machine to access the environment. So what I'll do is I'll pause the video and I'll restart the machine, and we'll see how it looks once it is done. Okay, so the machine got restarted. Hopefully my services are running now. Let's quickly check that, and if they are running, then we should be able to access the client. Okay, let's search for Microsoft, and here it is, still starting. So let's wait for a while because the machine just got restarted. It should restart at any moment, but let's go into IIS. Okay, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, IIS site, and then we have the Business Central inside here, where you can see BC26IN. This is equivalent to the name of the service that I created, right? So it have exact same name and still starting. So while it is starting, let's have a look on the product DVD and see if there is something else that we can talk about. Okay, it takes me to home where I can go into my E drive. Okay, and BC26IN. Okay, so during your testing and trial, whatever you're doing with BC26, and you kind of mess up your database for whatever reason, what you can do is, if you need to kind of restore your database again, the product DVD have the SQL demo database folder, which is a little bit inside, but you always get the demo database available on your environment. So you can just use this to kind of do restore your environment and use it. The demo license is also available there, so you don't have to worry about it if you mess up something and you want to kind of go back to the starting point. The interesting part also here is that in every release, what happens is Microsoft also ships you where is that, in the modern dev, I guess. Let's see, they also ship you the runtime package of your exact AL version in a VSIX file. Now you can use this VIX file if Microsoft is not supporting that version. Let's say 3 versions from now, when this version is no longer supported, let's assume, you want to code against this particular version of AL language, you can actually install this VSIX package in your VS Code, which gives you the exact version of the AL that you were using, right? What else is in the product DVD that you can use? There will be some commands available. Okay, it's doing something, so I'll let it do. There will be okay, let's see, web client components are here, so all the assemblies that you need are placed here, and then there is this application folder which contains all the extension that are part of this product DVD. So if in any scenario, if you need to see the source code of any extension which Microsoft allows you to see, you will be able to get hold of that source code from here. So like we are talking about India, you need GST extension, you have the source code here and the app file. So you can utilize this. So all your extensions that are deployed on your on-prem environment are placed in the application. For some reason, if you have uninstalled something, you want to get hold of it again, you can get it from this folder. So what I'll have to do, I guess, is I'll have to pause again and wait for this service to start. If there's an error, I'll fix it in front of you, but if it is just taking time, I don't want to waste your time. So let me pause this. Okay. So it took some time because I had some updates pending, but now it's started. Okay, so let's head up and see how my Business Central 26 locally kind of looks at. So at this point, I should be able to access my Business Central environment. The things that you might have to take care if it doesn't work, and you know, I tell about this all the time. Default installation normally take care of it, but if there is a problem in starting the service, make sure the account that you're using have the sufficient permission on the database so that it can use it. Right? So let's quickly see that while this is opening. You need to make sure that the account that is used to run the services, which in this case is network service, should have some permission on required permission to the database. So what you have to do is go to the security, choose the login account that you're using. If there's a named account, which it should be on a production environment, make sure that you have it. And in user mapping, I don't think you need a DB owner, but you need the public data reader writer services, and then this is new role that I see, BC run server runtime. Okay, new thing for me also, and make sure that these are assigned. If they are assigned, you'll be able to run the service, and as simple as that, you'll be able to see your Business Central installed component, which will tell you what version you are in, right? So okay, let's go to help and support, and you'll notice that you are on an Indian version 26, platform this and application this. So quickly head up after watching this video into this link, download the product based on your region and localization, and let's start installing. Before I let you go, I'll again show you this slide. Okay, remember, these is the minimum set of hardware and software requirement that you need to have before installing version 26 on your local machines for testing and trial purposes, whatever you're doing. At this point, I guess I have covered everything. You know what you have to do. Show your love by liking the video, share this video on your social media, at least with one person who has been struggling with the installation journey, and hopefully this kind of reduces the pain with that person and is able to help him. If you haven't, which is 85% of the people who watch content on this channel are one of those who haven't subscribed to the channel, which is 85% as of today, please do subscribe to the channel. I guarantee you that there will be nothing else in this channel other than Business Central and related product. It'll always be coaching, mentoring, whatever I know, whatever you are looking for in this channel. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us to understand how we are doing. And if there is a business related query which I don't talk in this particular channel, reach out to us at info@atitheconsulting.com and we'll be happy to help you with your business needs. So I'll see you sooner than later in the next video. Till then, keep learning and keep sharing, and if needed, join the community. Thank you and have a nice day.